Hello, sopranos. It's me here giving you your coaching on that first section of the Beethoven Ninth. I hope you all are doing well and that everything is going good. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. Remember, we divided the piece into four pieces, into four sections. And so today, this is section 1, and it begins on page 4 and goes through page 13. And you'll see now that for you sopranos, in your particular case, there isn't quite as much to cover, but right away you jump in and there's some really difficult kind of tessitura singing right off the bat, so it's not like you're going to get off easy today. All right, what I'm doing though for all of the sections as we're starting off these sectionals is I'm sharing with folks this book that I have. There's an excerpt from this book that I'm reading. The book is called 3 Weeks in Vienna, and it's a delightful narration, novel narration of the account of the premiere of the Beethoven Symphony from one of the singer's perspective. And it's a delightful book, and it's kind of fun. And so it's broken down from the beginning of the concept of the piece to, Beethoven and some of the relationships that he had in Vienna, and then chapters as the process is continuing. This particular chapter is chapter 4, and it's called The Tyrant, and I think it really kind of is fun. And you can see as he began the process of teaching the Beethoven Ninth to some of his singers, what it was like. It kind of puts us there. So I kind of thought this would get us in the mood to begin. Beethoven's small apartment was buzzing with musicians when Caroline and Henrietta arrived. Ignaz Schuppanzich, I'm having trouble with this name, Schuppanzich, that's the one, Schuppanzich, was present, as was Michael Umlauf, who had only recently returned from Russia. Beethoven trusted him and had employed him to direct this performance as well as past concerts. The other soloists, Joseph Presinger and Anton Heitzinger, arrived just before the women. From the street, Beethoven could be heard yelling at Schuppanzich, "Falstaff! You idiots! I told you to bring a cello! Chairs? You don't need chairs! Only fat, lazy old men need chairs!" Beethoven's tone calmed somewhat when he realized that the ladies were at the door, but the sense of urgency was still present. "Don't just stand there!" he shouted at them. Come in, you can stand over here!" He motioned to an area behind the piano, and as they set their bags down against the wall, he spread out sheets of music on top of his piano. "Here," he said as he pointed to the manuscripts. "We're starting here." His voice was loud even when he was no longer shouting. The singers picked up their music, trying to decipher Beethoven's messy handwriting. "Can you read this?" Henrietta whispered to Caroline. "Most of it," she answered. Beethoven banged on the piano. "Here, at this entrance!" As a result of his many ineffectual attempts to be able to hear his music, Beethoven's piano was missing many strings, and the ones that were left were horribly out of tune. Pitches were given to the two men, who began singing at their cue. On his violin, Schuppanzich played the part of the oboe at Caroline's entrance, but when the soprano entrance arrived, Henrietta's voice stumbled, unable to find the beginning pitch. She acknowledged Schuppanzich with a grateful glance when he played the passage for her. Caroline looked on in amazement. There stood the master, completely oblivious to all of the sound in the room. His eyes were closed, his hands striking piano keys both silent and dissonant, and all the while he unknowingly hummed and sang out loud. "What he must be hearing," she murmured. "If only we could listen to what goes on in his head." Suddenly his eyes opened, and he saw Schuppanzich's fingers move up and down the fingerboard of his violin. "Falstaff! What are you playing?" he demanded. Schuppanzich tried to explain, but Beethoven became impatient, trying to read his fast-moving lips. Never mind. Just play what is written." All of the musicians stopped still and waited for his direction. "Now! Here, play this!" He waved his arms wildly in the air, directing the imaginary orchestra in his head. Again they started. The entrances were a little smoother this time, but when Henrietta reached the high B's, she threw up her hands. "I can't sing this, it's too high." Beethoven banged again on the piano. What? What is the problem? Looking at him, Henrietta pointed at the ceiling. It's too high. Fräulein Ungar, do you think that the parts are too difficult? Beethoven asked, putting her on the spot. Caroline smiled and uncovered the conversation book from the sheets of music, taking the dull pencil from within its pages. You, Herr Beethoven, are a tyrant over all the vocal organs, she wrote, and then held the book open for him to read. Ha! A tyrant, you say? Well, I have been possessed by God himself to compose this piece. I am only carrying out his wishes, he said sternly. Now, let us continue. Turning to Henrietta, Caroline shrugged her shoulders. Well, then we must go on torturing ourselves in the name of God. They held up their music in front of their faces to hide their giggling. They were interrupted by a flurry of activity as Count Palfy, from the Theatre on the Vigne, pushed his way through the crowd at the door. Entirely frustrated by yet another distraction, Beethoven screamed, What? What will be next? I assume you have come to rehearse? This is, after all, a rehearsal. Here. He shoved a stack of music in Palfy's face. Here is your part. Palfy took the music and set it aside, ignoring the joke. We must talk, he said. You couldn't have chosen a worse time for a chat. This had better be extremely important. I think it's just delightful because it has this wonderful narrative sense and tells this story, and I thought maybe you might enjoy a little bit of it. If you'd like to go ahead and try to find a copy of it, you can see here the author's name is Susan Hauglin, and I got it on Amazon. It's available that way, so you can kind of get an order for it and have it shipped to you. 3 Weeks in Vienna, a singer's account of the premiere of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, if you'd like to check it out. I think it really is going to be quite delightful. And it's not that terribly long. It's a nice sized book. So for somebody who's trapped inside without much to do, a little singing and a little reading to make your day go by a little smoother. Okay, so sopranos, we go into section 1. And as we look at it, we're going to see that our section 1 begins on page 4, but that's just the men's chorus. Then the altos join in on page 5, but you certainly do not have an entrance there as of yet. Your entrance begins on, the soloists continue on page 6 and 7, and your entrance begins on the top of page 8. However, it is the melody. You've taken over the melody at this point, and of course, it is quite significant. So I'll go through these things once or twice. If you are feeling pretty good about one of the sections, you obviously can always kind of go back on the video and play them through again to get a little more on particular work on a certain section. But I'll go through it twice. Do it on a do or a D to start. Do, D, da, da, whatever it is, whatever vowel you like. The articulation, to help the articulation, also to get the pitches kind of nice and clear. And then on top of that, if you feel pretty good after doing it a few times, then you can go ahead and stick the text back in. And then we'll, of course, deal with some of that again later on. But here we go. Top of page 8, we sing on, I'm going to do here. And you must forgive me, some of this is a little bit of a stretch for me. I might drop out in some of these very top parts. I'm in pretty good voice today, but already I can feel a little bit of fatigue setting in from my work that I've been doing today. So we'll see how I sound on top. And if I drop off, you just keep going, all right? But it's the melody here. Second measure, top of page 8. 2, 3, and. Yeah, I'm not going to do it all in the same octave as where it is actually written, all right? Good, let's try again. Same thing. Ready? 2, and up. So if you listen to the song, you're going to actually know that when the sopranos and tenors and, the altos, tenors, and basses sing, they have that little bottom of page 5, second line, second measure, they have that little rhythmic thing that happens there, okay? You don't do that here on this entrance, okay? You don't have it. It's a straight rhythm, bottom of page 8, straight quarters, with the tied quarter from the top to the bottom page, the only thing that's a little different, all right? We'll do it one more time just to make sure you keep that rhythm square. All right, there we go. So that is page 8, all right? Page 9 is, of course, starts with the two male soloists, then the soprano, then the alto, the mezzo, and then the soprano joins in on page 10, okay? And then finally, you all are back in again, bottom of page 11 with everybody, second line in the second measure, all right? So we're going to try doing this a couple of different ways. I'll play through the entire example, all right? But I will slow it down, break it down into some smaller bars, because I think that you're going to probably want to have a little bit of that to isolate a couple of things as we go. All right, here we go. Bottom of page 11, second line, second measure. Ready? 2, 3, 4. Let's do that much again, all right? Bottom of page 11, starting once again on the second bar. 2, ready, and. Marvelous, okay? That was good. Do we go to the top of page 11 now to pick up to the last measure, top of page 12, sorry. Top of page 12, pick up to the last measure, top of the page. We'll do just that section from the top of that page to the bottom, all right? Starting on the high F sharp on beat 4 of the second bar, top of page 12. 1, 2, 3. All right, now I know that gets very, very high. So open up the vowel. If the D is not happening too well for you, then open up to an oo or a da, 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 da. That's certainly a good vowel to work high notes on as an open ah. But I want you to have the articulation on it. Da, 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 da. All right? I'll take it down the octave in that spot. Top of page 12, same place. Pick up to the last bar. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 okay, if you're doing that up in the octave there, that's good work for you to get those notes, all right? We'll try the whole example, bottom 11 through the bottom of page 12, and then we'll go on. Here we go. Ready, 2, 3, bottom 11, second measure. 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Now I'm going to slow it down. I know there's people out there saying, that's too fast now, it's too fast. So I will. I'll slow it down a little bit here in each one of these spots and making sure that we're getting it, all right? If you need to, you can sing it down the octave to get the notes right. That's okay. I'm going to keep playing it in the octave that you're supposed to sing it, but if it's easier for you, do it down the octave, then go back and review the video again and try it up the octave, all right? Here we go. Bottom of page 11, second bar, a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, all right? Good, 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 all right? I'll do that again, same tempo. Here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, top of page 13, we're going to go on. Top of page 13. Ready, 2, 3, 4. One, 2. 1, 2. That's it. See how high that is? Woo! All right. So remember, you can work it down the octave if you need to. Top of page 13, last measure. Okay, top of page 13, last measure. All right. The other thing is, make sure you continue using the do's in the articulation for these. Top of page 13, the half notes are marked with staccatos. All right. So they have length, but they also have articulation. Yum, da, dee, da, ba, etc., etc. So that's why I want you to have the D's on the articulation right now. Da, da, dee, da. All right, so that we get used to doing what the articulation for the notes are going to be. Okay, one more time. Top of page 13 on da or do or do. Any of those will work. Any vowel will work. D, da, do, do. Change it up if you want because you get bored. Either way, it's fine. All right, here we go. Ready? And the slower tempo. Then we'll go back and do the whole exercise in the odd tempo that we started. Ready? 2, 3, and. Now, as I see Mr. Beethoven looked at me and reminded me that he indeed does have a slight retard, a little rallentando at the very end of this phrase, okay? And so the last note will be held longer, 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 longer. And so in anticipation, you need to make sure to watch the conductor and see how long that's going to last. But we can anticipate either a little slowdown there or at least a nice long held note, all right? So make sure that you kind of plan for that as well. All right, let's go back to page 11, bottom of the page. We'll go back up to tempo now, and we'll actually do that whole exercise together, all right? Bottom of page 11, second line in the second measure, all right? Keep it on the oohs, then you can run back again and try doing it on some text when you're starting to feel good about how you're doing it, all right? Here we go. 2, 3, and. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up the page turn. Let's do it again. 2 and ah. Rest and 1 and. There we go. Okay. All right. So I think that takes us through our first section. Go back and review as much as you need to, going back and forth. That's the beauty of doing the videos here, because then you can absolutely take whatever time you want on whatever section you need to. All right. Good. Well, I'm hoping that you all are doing well and that everything is going well and that you're feeling not quite so isolated by having our little contact with these. And we'll see you next time for section 2. All right. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.